conversation with her daughter when she was 4 years old. "Mommy, I want to be just like you when I grow up." She looked down at her daughter, beaming with pride, and asked, "You do, sweetie?" She replied, "Yeah, then I can reach all that stuff way up high." Amy is reading Mom Was Right.
I was 8 years old, and my dad had just lost a long cat-and-mouse game with cancer. In the months after his death, my older brother and I struggled with the unanswerable questions that come along with losing a parent at such a young age. One day, my mother grasped for any morsel she could provide to take the pain away and said, "You know, your dad is always with you." That scared the crap out of me. I was 8, and all I could think of was, he's always with me? Did he see me going to the bathroom this morning? Did he see me make that face behind my brother's back when he called me a whiner? Even worse, did he see me steal candy from my brother's Easter basket? Eventually, I grew to understand what my mom had meant, that my father wasn't actually sitting there watching me pick on my brother or lie to my teacher. Years later, even after having had my own child, I still remember her words as just that, just words. It was a hot and humid August day in 2002, and I had errands to run before I could kick back in the air conditioning and play the day away with my baby daughter, Nicole. The first stop on the list was the post office. As I pulled into the parking lot, I did a quick scan. Good, no cars. That meant no line in and out. I sat in the car for a bit contemplating my options. I could lug that 453.75-pound car seat into the post office with me, sweat dripping down my back, and subject my precious baby to the heat. Nope. I had a different plan. I was going to leave the car running, air conditioning cranked, and lock the car. I would be out and back in less than 3 minutes. I took the remote key fob off my keyring, grabbed some cash, and got out of the car. I closed the door gently so as not to wake my sleeping angel, and I locked it. Once inside the post office, I was all business. "Book of stamps, please," I said. The clerk tossed the book across the counter, and I paid with exact change. Done, just like that. I walked back out to my running car and pushed the unlock button on the key fob. Nothing happened. I pushed it again. Still nothing. I stood right next to the driver's side door, pushed the button, again, nothing. I pushed the unlock button 100 more times with varying speed and pressure. Nothing. That's when panic set in. My purse and subsequently my cell phone were locked in the car with my baby. I sprinted back into the post office. I realized the last thing I wanted to admit to the postal worker was that I'd locked my baby in a car on a scorching day. In an effort to conceal my stupidity, I elected to just frantically ask to use the phone. I did so in a tone that indicated I was not merely asking to dial up my pal Tara and let her know of a new banana bread recipe, and the post worker barely glanced up from her magazine and told me there was a public payphone at the end of the block. I rushed outside and realized that I'd used any change I had to pay for the stamps. I stopped dead in the middle of the sidewalk and shoved my hands into the pockets of my shorts. Inexplicably, my fingers came into contact with a quarter. I yanked the quarter from my pocket and resumed my sprint to the phone booth. I burst into the phone booth, inserted my quarter, and dialed my husband's cell phone. I was sweating from head to toe. On the second ring, I heard my husband's voice. "Yeah." In a stream of words, I relayed what had happened, on the verge of tears. There was silence on the other end. Then the reply, "Well, I'm on my way to a meeting," he said, his voice trailing off. I shouted into the phone, "Did you hear what I just said? I've locked our baby in the car!" I began scanning my surroundings for something I could use to break a window. Concerned that my head was going to pop off, my husband said, "I'll be right there." And he hung up. I raced back to the post office parking lot, cupped my hands to the back window, and just stared at my daughter. I was panting so heavily that I couldn't see through the steam I was creating on the window. I just stood there staring at my daughter, feeling the one thing no mother should ever have to feel: helpless. Suddenly, without any reason, I felt chilled. The hair stood up on the back of my neck, and goosebumps peppered my sweaty skin from head to toe. As I sat watching my baby, I realized that it seemed as if she was playing with something or someone. She reached out her pudgy little hand, grabbed for something as a huge smile swept across her bright cheeks, kicked her little legs in crazed excitement, and pulled her hand back down to her chest. She repeated this over and over. I opened my mouth, and without thinking, only one word tumbled from my lips. The word I hadn't uttered in almost 20 years. Daddy. I breathed the word for fear that if I said it too loud, the moment would be gone. For the first time since my father's death, I felt like my dad was there. Not just felt that he was there, but knew it. I knew it like you know your own voice. It was undeniable. Suddenly, I felt a hand clamp down on my shoulder. It was my husband with the set of spare keys. He unlocked the door and I quickly jumped into the car and touched my daughter. My husband left, and I slumped down into the driver's seat with tears brimming in my eyes. The first thought in my head was, damn it, my mother was right. I knew I was going to have to make it up to her forever doubting her. Then I stopped, held my breath, and said, "Thanks, Dad."